Hey, good afternoon. I am in the Mojave National Preserve, about 100 miles north of Joshua Tree, where I filmed my last video. This is national parkland, and I have checked into a campsite here in the desert. It's run by the National Park Service. The site is amazing. This is my site here. I've got a fire pit, I've got a table. I do not have water, electricity or sewage, but there is a dump station here where I can empty those tanks if need be. I don't need to because I emptied them this morning, and where I can fill up with drinking water. The sites are pretty far apart, which is really nice. Some of the commercial sites, they cram you in next to each other. There's an open site over there. You can see each site has its own table and fire pit. That RV there belongs to the campground host. That's the guy who lives here and he looks after everything. And I just have this spectacular view of the desert. There are a couple of hikes that look really amazing. I'm going to do them tomorrow. I've checked in here for 2 nights because why not? You do have to pay. The campground I stayed in last night, for the last 2 nights, where I was like 3 yards or 4 yards from my neighbor's caravan, was $50 a night. This campground is $12 a night. Now granted, that one I had electricity, water, etc., which is nice after a while of not having, but the quiet here is beautiful, and there are not too many clouds, and I'm hoping that the stargazing will be good tonight, although I think it might be a full moon, so anyway, we shall see. I'm going to just relax this afternoon. I already had dinner. I took out my little barbecue and made a couple of burgers on keto bread, and yeah, this is good. For dinner, I'm just going to warm some up. I don't have electricity, but I'll run the generator for 5 minutes just to use the microwave, and that'll be it. So I'm looking forward to a couple of more days here in the desert, after which I'm probably going to go to another campsite further up north in this preserve. So I'll see you in the morning. Good morning. A chilly winter morning. We're in the desert, starting my hike. What's the time now? It is 7:30. Quiet night, but very windy early this morning, and so no noise from neighbors or anything like that. 5.6 mile loop hike, and we'll see after that. Walking through there, lots of cholla and other cacti. This from the cholla garden in Joshua Tree. There are actually Joshua trees here, but a lot smaller than in Joshua Tree National Park. So interesting. The trail is going to take me on a loop around this mountain. There's a little bit of climbing and clambering and stuff, but it's not supposed to be too strenuous. This hike is rated as moderate. About 1 kilometer in, climbed a little bit, got some nice views of the valley. That down there is the visitor center, which is closed, but they do have information pamphlets outside, maps, etc., that kind of thing. And they got the valley, excuse the sunlight, and then down below is the campground. You can actually see my camper from here. There it is. That little building nearby is actually the toilet. It's pretty clean, although I use the one from my in my van. You can see how spread out the individual stalls are for the sites for the caravans. So it makes a really peaceful ride, except at 4 o'clock this morning the wind started howling. In the reviews of the campsite, everyone said it was great, etc., etc., but windy. The campsite, by the way, is called the Hole in the Wall. Boy, did the wind blow. I felt sorry. There are a few people down there camping who slept in tents. That couldn't have been much fun. If you'll pardon the pun or the dad joke, it must have been very intense. Sorry. Walking through a kind of cactus garden, and please excuse the noise from the wind, and it's going gently up and downhill. At some point I believe there's some place where I need to climb up or down a wall using rings in the wall. Cross that bridge literally and figuratively when I get to it. In the meantime, I'm really enjoying this. Another view of the campground there. Try and shade the sun away. And the mountains in the distance. This really is, all this is a valley coming down, and I think it kind of funnels the wind. Anyway, last night, it was fine last night. I've got one more night here, and then I'm probably going to do 2 nights further up north at a free campsite. Let's see. Some very cool rock formations here with the contrast between the dark, the reddish brown and the white. And coming down the steps here, they come down at this little cave eroded into the rock. Very cool. Also coming down the side here, a bit of a respite from the wind, but I don't think that's going to last. The erosion here, I'm not sure whether it's wind, water, or both, but it's had quite an effect. I'm walking on the other side of the mountain, and the wind, even though it's still here, is a little bit less, but in the respect it's worth it. One thing on this trail is a lot of cow poop lying around, which initially is disconcerting, but then I remind myself it's a whole lot less troubling than the copious amount of bear poop that I saw on trails earlier on my trip. So I think the cow poop I can live with. I'll spare you the pictures. The view is different on the other side of the mountain. It's a lot yellower, a lot drier, but still very interesting to walk through. Fortunately, I don't have to climb that. Maybe I'm a bit of a nerd, but I find the different colors in the rock there really fascinating. Makes for a very picturesque backdrop to this hike. Climbed up again. The area I'm walking through is really nicely dotted with chilla, I think it's pronounced cholla, cacti, even though it's Cholla. I think it's pronounced cholla. And also got a fairly spectacular view down into the valley below. It's a really nice hike. The view keeps on changing. It's a little bit uphill, downhill, but nothing too challenging. Wow, I just came over the crest of the hill, and this is the view in the distance here. Excuse the appearance of my hand. I'm trying to keep this direct sunlight off the camera lens. What a view. What a view. The reviews had said that this was a good hike with good views. So, but I wasn't expecting anything quite as picturesque as this. And one of the things I really like is I haven't seen anybody else on the trail. Now granted, not many people start hiking when they're on holiday at 7:30 in the morning, but still, it's really beautiful. And it's again that feeling of the whole world to myself, just the wind, nature, yeah, birds. It's just makes for a great start to the day. I think that this is where it gets really interesting, because the path has got to take me through in between these peaks. I believe that somewhere we go through what's called a slot canyon, which is a very narrow space. This could be interesting. Even before we get to any challenging bits, the rock here with the holes carved into them by wind or water, and the different colors really is very interesting. Yep, this is definitely what you call a slot canyon. Looking up above me, and I think I'm going to have to put the camera away. I've got to clamber over these boulders. Okay, that was simultaneously fun and a little unnerving. You hold on to the rings with your hands and you put your feet up on the boulders and then on the side here. The last bit to pull myself definitely involved supporting most of my body weight with my hands. And here's a little bit more clambering to do. And more rings. Okay, I can do this. I am not going to lie. Those sets of rings were a challenge. If I'd been any shorter, it would be difficult to do by myself. If you have someone else to help you, I think it makes it a lot easier. But I did it. I'm in one piece. Success. By the way, that little slot that I just came through with the rings and all that, that is why this place is called Hole in the Wall. Good morning. It is 7:15 and I am leaving this campsite. I did not do a second hike yesterday because the wind came up and truly howled in the afternoon and last night. I managed to sleep okay, but the camper was shaking. I'm gonna head a little bit north. This campsite in the write-ups before, and it's got great reviews, but they said it's windy. And then the weather forecast in general for the area was wind. So I'm heading for a campsite up north, which hopefully is better protected. And if not, then I'll move on a little bit further. So I'm just going to play it by ear. We've had breakfast, everything's packed up, and off we go. Driving along here, on the side of the road are Joshua trees, or should I say burnt Joshua trees. It's mile after mile of them. In 2020, a massive fire came through here and pretty much destroyed all of these trees. Here and there you'll see a young tree growing up, rebirth, but it's really sad. Also, this is real white knuckle driving because the wind is howling and it's pushing the RV all over the place. So I don't know if I'm going to stop at the campsite that I plan to sleep at tonight, which is just a few miles away. I might carry on north and head towards Death Valley National Park. We'll see how it goes. I don't know if you can see, this is not smoke or smog, this is dust being thrown up by the wind. So the wind's supposed to die down later this afternoon, and tomorrow and the next day look good. So I'm heading north towards a RV resort just outside of Death Valley, which has hot springs. Hi, as I'm sure you can hear, the wind is still blowing fairly hard. It's not weather for hiking. So what I've done is I've drove further up. I'm outside the Death Valley National Park. I'm at a resort, an RV park, which has hot springs and a pool and outside jacuzzis, and inside jacuzzis and hot tubs. And just going to relax for one night, and then, assuming the weather will be better tomorrow, I'm going to go on to the national park. But behind me is the pool. The pool is heated. Around the pool there are 4 jacuzzis, but there's also private jacuzzis. I'm going to go and see if any of them are free. You don't have to pay. I mean, it's included. The youth is included in the price. So hopefully. It was quite a stressful drive this morning with the wind, and for a while I was on a really bad dirt road, so there's a chance to unwind. I just got out of the heated swimming pool. It's a little chilly lying here, but I'm not going to do that for long. You can see the swimming pool here, and there are 4 little hot tubs around the sides. As I said, that's heated spring water. Well, the water comes out of the spring hot. They don't heat it. There are also 4 private jacuzzis, indoor ones. You just got to wait your turn though, and I didn't feel like waiting, so I just came to the swimming pool here. Lie here for a few minutes, and then go take a shower, have some lunch, rest, and then take it from there. Good morning. It is 8 a.m. I left the campsite, the RV park that I was at about 7, just after 7, and I've just entered Death Valley National Park. Sad as to say, my final national park for this trip. The scenery is really spectacular, and again, this looks like it is a different type of desert. I'm going to turn around the corner in a second, the road turns, and then you'll see some real contrasts in color, which are pretty cool. It's a good thing that there's no shortage of desert to hike. Well, there is a kind of shortage, but it's a good thing that there's desert to hike in Israel, because I'm really enjoying this. And in Israel, the desert is the only place where you'll find the open spaces. Yeah, how those for scenery, for mountains. Beautiful. So in about 20 minutes, I'll get to the visitor center where I'll pay. There's no entrance fee at the entrance to the park. You pay further in, and I will get maps and speak to them about where I can camp, and hopefully I'll be able to do at least one hike today. Out of all the deserts that I've been to in the United States, this is the one, probably the one that reminds me the most of the desert, of the Negev desert in Israel. The mountains here, especially the ones you see in the distance, are a little bit more spectacular. But the colours, the shrubs in the valley, the vegetation, there are similarities. It's not exactly the same, but fairly similar. So even before I get to the visitor center, I'm making a short stop. I saw cars on the side of the road and everything, so I thought, let's see what's going on. There's a viewpoint here called the Zabriskie viewpoint. It's not a hike, it's 100 yards each way along a paved road. A little bit of a climb. There's supposed to be a good view at the end. Death Valley, this whole area, is also known as the Badlands. And for a reason, I'm not sure I'd like to tour here in summer. Even before I get to the top, the views here are quite stunning. Absolutely beautiful. The contrast and the colors of the rocks. The signpost said that at the base of by the parking lot there's the start of a 5-mile hike down into the valley. I might just do that later. I don't want to do it now because I don't have the trail map, but I'll see. I'll probably be able to get it at the visitor center. One lone cameraman down there. Again, the contrast here with the colors and the rocks and the sky, absolutely beautiful. So if the view here is a sign of what's to be, this is going to be awesome. Okay, it's 10 a.m. I've found a campground about 5 miles from here. Basic campground, no hookups or anything. National Park Service, $12 a night. No view or anything, but good location in the park. I've just started the hike called the Golden Canyon. It's going to connect up with either 1 or 2 more hikes, all of them loops. So this could end up being anything between 3 and 5 miles, depending on how I feel and how much energy I have. Speaking of energy, fun story. The last time I put in gas in Arizona, I paid $3.60 for a gallon of gas. A gallon is 3.8 liters. $3.60. Yesterday, I filled up in California. It was $5.60, and here at the gas station inside the camp, it's $6.70 a gallon. Fortunately, I won't have to fill up here or any time until after I get out of the park. $6.70 is insane. There really are similarities between hiking here and hiking in Israel in the Negev and Arava, the Jordan Valley. Similar texture, similar types of rocks. Just here everything's, because it's the United States, it's on a grander scale. Another similarity is I am currently 142 meters below sea level. Not too many places you can do that and survive. Funny, the family in the background behind me, 2 adults, 2 little kids. One of the kids is throwing a temper tantrum. They're speaking English, but I'm 100% certain they're Israelis. This is preparation for my return to reality. There are two places you can start this hike. The one is up top at the observation point I saw earlier, and the one is down below. I chose to start below. It's the same hike, it's a loop. But I chose to start down below because I'd much rather do the uphill first. And then when you're tired, it's all downhill, literally and figuratively. It's really nice how up ahead the colours change. It's not subtle change either. So up there on the right, up there pretty much, that's the outlook that I was looking into the valley from earlier today. We'll see if I include that bit in today's hike. There are all these little side canyons you can go down and explore. But if I do that, go down every little side canyon, I'll never finish this hike. So fun story. And don't worry, everything else ends well, more or less. Yesterday, especially in the afternoon, my body was aching. And I did not feel great because of it. And I'm thinking, oh shit, don't tell me I caught COVID. I mean, I'm really careful. I put a mask on when I go inside, etc. Keep my distance from people, etc., etc. So, freaking out a little bit. And then I start thinking about it and I realize something. It's not my body that's hurting. It's my arms and my shoulders. And I think back, why would that be? It's those damn rings. I had to pull myself, remember I told you I had to pull myself up using my arms? I'm not used to that. And I'm not exactly the fattest person in the world, but I'm not the lightest either. My arms yesterday were sore. Today they're a lot better. Hopefully tomorrow I'll be fine again. That was just a little scare for the day. There's an interesting social phenomenon here. When you hike on a trail where there are very few people, every time you pass someone, it's hi, how you doing, how's the hike? Brief little chat. When you're on a trail like this, where it's not crowded, but there are lots of people, there's none of that. I think it's the equivalent of big city alienation versus small town, everybody knows each other. He's willing to help out. I just find all this kind of stuff really interesting. It's not hard to see why this is called Badlands. It's very dry. Until the 1920s, they used to mine borax here. But then the price dropped, demand dropped, and the company that owned the rights decided to develop it for tourism. And that was pretty much an instant hit. Very cool. Going through Slot Canyon here. I just hope there are no rings that I have to use to pull myself up. Whew. Wow, just come up here. Quite the climb, quite the view. The previous viewpoint that I stopped at is called the Red Cathedral. This one, not quite at the top yet, but I'm just taking a break. Unfortunately, I don't climb all the way to the top. It's called the Manly Beacon, Mannly. And if you look down there, there's people far away at the bottom there. That's where I've come from. So I started at 140 meters below sea level. the red canyon was 40 meters above sea level. In other words, I climbed 100 meters. I then went down to 50 meters below sea level, and I'm now, what's the elevation? 40 meters above sea level. So that's a lot of climbing. It's, I think, what's that, 190, something like that, meters. If you take conservatively 5 meters for a story of a building, in fact I think most buildings would be less than that, I've climbed the equivalent of 40 stories today to get up from the valley down there where I started. And it ain't over yet. The good news is that the rest should be mainly, apart from maybe a little bit more, should be mainly downhill. If it isn't, I'm going to go to the ranger station and have a word with the ranger who told me that if I do it this way, it's mostly downhill the way back. Again, the colors, the mountains here are just magnificent. There's a cave entrance up there. I think it might be a mine shaft from old mining days here. I'm not going to climb up there to check. More clambering through a slot canyon, yeah. Oh well, I suppose when I eventually get to the bottom there, I'll be proud of myself. So the park ranger was right. I'm back down at about 125 meters below sea level. I am down in the valley, and there ahead in the distance, let's see if I can find it here, is the parking lot. As I said, great hike. About 8.8 kilometers, 5.5 miles. The only thing I don't like about it is that the last kilometer or so is kind of boring. Because it's just walking in the valley, road, to get back to your car. There's nothing to see, it's just you walk in order to get somewhere, not in order to enjoy it. And that's a pity, but this hike is definitely still worth doing. I got back to the campsite early afternoon. I barbecued some salmon actually, which I had for lunch. You can see the barbecue is little grill there. It's still out. I've got a bunch of meat I'm going to barbecue, a little bit for dinner, and then for a few meals carrying on. I just wanted to give you, and then I had a nap. It's now 3:45. I just wanted to give you some idea of the campground. This is a really cheap campground. It's, like I said, it's $12 a night. I've got a fairly big site here. There's quite a bit of space between the sites. There is a communal toilet and showers and all that over here. I don't use those though. I prefer to use my own shower and that. I don't have a water or power or sewage hookup, but that's fine. That I have. And I'll just give you some idea. I mean, take a look at the scenery around the setting. Sure, there's no green grass and water and all that, but the setting here is magnificent. The guy behind me, by the way, has just started his generator, and that's fine. You're allowed to use a generator here from 7 a.m. till 7 p.m. I ran the generator for like 3 minutes while I was warming up the sides to go with the salmon, and that's it. I don't think I'll need to use it again. This is ideal for me. It's not cramped. The setting is beautiful. I have everything I need, and it's just, this is great. I know I have like 1 week's time, it's all over. And look, I won't lie, it is tiring, and you do get tired, and I look forward to having a proper kitchen and all that. But even after 3 months, I'm still so enjoying it. So it's just temptation to do something again. I doubt whether I'll be able to do a 3-month trip, but maybe a week trip or a 2-week trip. Alaska and Canada. Anyway, my kettle is whistling, the water is boiled for coffee, so that's it for today. Another insane desert sunset. What a view to end the day. Just wow. Good morning. It is bright and early. It's now 6:30 in the morning. I left the RV park about 40 minutes ago, and I've come to a site. As you can see behind me, a lot of other cars here, and doing a trail site that is a little unusual. It is sand dunes, and I was told that the best time to do the sand dunes is early morning or late afternoon. And what's unusual about the sand dunes is there's no actual trail, so you can wander wherever you want. So the light and all that is is really special. Quite a few people taking photographs. If I turn around, you'll see that there are already, even though it's early in the morning, quite a few cars in the parking lot. People just off exploring the sand dunes. So that's what I'm going to do. The plan for today is to do 3 hikes. This one should end up being about 2 miles or so, and a 4-mile one, and a 2-mile one, as I make my way westwards toward the western entrance to the park. I'll sleep either just inside or just outside of the park tonight, and then make my way towards the coast. Start making my way towards the coast. It's very cool how the sun's going to rise there in the east. But if I turn around slowly, try not to give you motion sickness. In the west, the sunlight is just catching the top of the mountains there. It's giving it like a pinkish color. Really pretty. And even though walking in soft sand is not my favorite, on I go. I'd put in the music or the song, Here Comes the Sun, but I'd get nailed with a copyright violation, and so you just have to sing it to yourselves. Behind me, the mountain there is pretty much lit up. Really nice, yeah. The soft white sand here in the desert, in the middle of, a desert, but it's not the Sahara, it's not a sandy desert. And This is definitely something different. And the moment the sun hits them, the color of the dunes changes. Wow. Pretty spectacular. Nice. Right, that was a great first hike, something very different. They were right. It definitely added something to do it at the sunrise. I'd imagine sunset is also good. And also they say it's really good to do at night during the full moon. Or better, it's not going to happen. But the sunrise walk was really nice. So now it's time for a cup of coffee. And then on to the next site. Okay, here I go. Second hike of the day. This is called the Mosaic Canyon. And the pressure on the rocks and the scouring caused by floodwaters coming down once in a blue moon apparently have created some interesting colors and things. So it's, if I go the whole way, it's 2 miles in and then 2 miles back out. Apparently there's some scrambling over rocks involved. We'll see how that goes. Just a third of the kilometer in, and already the canyon is narrowed and got some really cool colors and rock formation layers on the side here. They said the first part of the canyon, I think the first half mile or mile, is the narrowest. It's really very cool walking through here. A little bit of scrambling involved, but nothing too serious yet. The wall of the canyon that I'm walking through really is a mosaic of stones and colors. Again, really something different. I have no idea how these formed. You have rocks within rocks. I don't know how it happened, but there must have been some massive forces involved. The canyon's opening up a little bit. Until now I've been walking in the shade, and it's only 8:30 in the morning, but there in the far wall you can see the sun shining onto the wall. Once again, there are all sorts of little side canyons that you can explore, but I think I'm going to stick to the main one. I've done 1.7 kilometers and it's 3.2 kilometers in, 2 miles in, 2 miles out. Go out the same way. And it's been a slow but steady rise all the way. So far, I've climbed 140, I've gained 140 meters in elevation. The canyon has narrowed again, and definitely back into scrambling mode. For example, here I need to climb, so need both my hands, so no videoing this. Okay, I'm nearly at the end of the trail. To reach the actual end would involve some serious climbing, and I think this will be enough for this hike. So I'm going to start heading back. The good news is that going back is all downhill, because I climbed 190 meters up to reach this point, so it'll be nice going downhill. Normally, I'm not a fan of out and back trails. In other words, coming back the same way I went out. But this is so different and so special. Also, now that the sun's up more, the colors are even a little bit different. So this time I'm actually enjoying coming back the same way. Driving towards the southwestern part of the park. The view is pretty spectacular. Well, not at the moment, but it will be in a second. Starting my third hike of the day, 1 mile in, 1 mile out, to an oasis apparently with a waterfall called Darwin Falls, not named after the guy who came up with the theory of evolution, but explorer, the first name of an explorer who in 1850 discovered this trail. It's now 11:20. It's definitely warming up. A few hundred meters in, it's still dry, but there's definitely water somewhere, because there's more greenery than I've seen for anywhere else in this park. The water must be underground at this stage of the game. Well, I'm a kilometer in. The greenery is getting even more lush, and the first signs of flowing water. It ain't the Mississippi, as they say, but it is water in the desert, which makes it special. The vibe has definitely changed. The canyon is narrowing, the greenery is becoming more lush, and what's nice, I'm walking in the shade. This is very cool. I hope it's coming through on the sound, but I can hear the water flowing, and it's very, very green. It's crazy to think that this is in the middle of the desert. Bit of rock scrambling to get through here, clambering, but it's all good, really worth it. Very, very pretty little area. Oh, I made it to the waterfall at the end. Reminds me a little bit of Nahal Harugot in Israel. But not exactly the same, but close enough. Nice setting here. That was a really nice third hike for the day, and it's only lunchtime. But that's it in terms of hiking in this park. I'm going to go find a place that have some lunch and figure out where I'm going to sleep tonight, and then start heading, carry on heading westwards. Leave the park and head westwards. That's it for this video. I hope you've enjoyed watching it. Thanks for following, and see you next time.